Hello, I'm Kiernan Ryan. I'm Emeritus Professor of English Literature at Royal Holloway, and I want to talk to you today about Hamlet. In Hamlet, Shakespeare sabotages the conventions of revenge tragedy by creating a hero who finds himself, to his own bewilderment, unable to avenge his murdered father without delay. When he does finally avenge him at the end of Act 5, he does so in anger on the spur of the moment and at the cost of his own life. And too late, of course, to prevent all the deaths that would not have occurred if he had only carried out the revenge earlier. So, on the face of it, the main cause of the tragedy is Hamlet's inexplicable reluctance to kill his father's murderer, which compels him to procrastinate until circumstances force his hand. In this widely accepted view of the play, Hamlet's compulsion to postpone what he's sworn to do is his tragic flaw. And the fundamental problem the play poses is, why does Hamlet delay? But what if we turn this view of the play on its head? What if Hamlet's tormented aversion to performing the role of avenging prince actually reflects a justified rejection of a whole way of life whose injustice, whose corruption he now finds insupportable? In that case, his tragedy turns out to be something else entirely. It turns out to be the problem of being forced to play a pointless part in a society from which he feels utterly alienated. It's the time that's out of joint, as he says himself, not Hamlet. And being out of sync with his time is what makes him a hero ahead of his time. Viewed from this standpoint, the problem the play appears to pose, why does Hamlet delay, disappears, along with the notion that the compulsion to delay constitutes Hamlet's tragic flaw. Shakespeare refuses to reduce the cause of the tragedy to what Hamlet calls the stamp of one defect, a vicious mole in nature, because that would mean pinning the responsibility, the blame for what happens, on the protagonist alone, instead of calling the society that trapped him in such an impossible predicament in the first place into question. It would mean reducing the play from a tragedy, a radical visionary tragedy, to a mere morality play. Hamlet's predicament is impossible because, if you think about it, if he fails to kill his father's murderer, his father goes unavenged and his killer escapes justice, and Hamlet would feel mortified as an avenging prince insofar as he subscribes to the revenge code and its obligations. He would feel disgraced and ashamed beyond endurance. But if he succeeds in killing Claudius, his father's murderer, he becomes complicit with the hierarchical society that fostered the regicide for which he seeks revenge. So with no satisfactory cause of action open to him of the revenge he's obliged to seek, Hamlet stalls and prevaricates, playing for time until he kills Claudius, as I've said, on the spur of the moment. So Hamlet does avenge his father in the end, but not before his revolt against that role and all it implies reveals Shakespeare's time as a time that only the fine revolution he glimpses for a moment in the graveyard could set right.